The thing about musicians, and I speak as a fairly accomplished one myself because I once came third in a regional battle of the bands, is they have this really weird fetish almost for pushing the envelope. Once any kind of degree of success has been achieved, most bands or artists or singers or whoever tend to look at what got them into that position and then spend the rest of their career trying not to do that same thing again. Whatever the pillars of their success are, they want to knock them down. But the thing is, as creative decisions go, this one rarely makes any sense because any kind of experiments in new musical directions or with new personas are fraught with danger. And even if you do manage to get it right, you risk alienating your hardcore fans because, wow, lol, I guess they suck now or something. Thing is, right, your comfort zone might be boring, but nobody ever went broke sitting in it. However, I am very pleased to report that a lot of musicians sometimes go the exact opposite direction and concoct some kind of gimmick or trademark so bizarre that it finds their way into everything they do, whether they like it or not. It might be like a dirty habit, a creative crutch, even a nervous tic, because the bottom line here is the human brain is a weird machine, and that's doubly true when you're trying to maintain a music empire. So without further ado, my name is Adam Cleary and these are 10 famous musicians who just do the same weird thing every time. Number 10, the lyric She Said, the 1975. One of the strangest phenomenons in modern music concerns British funk, pop, new wave, alt rock, synth pop, whatever concoction, the 1975, and specifically frontman Matty Healy using the same phrase in pretty much every single song he's written. Now, speaking in an interview, the band have actually addressed this and said while they don't set out with the intention of writing songs from a female perspective, they do a lot of the time end up framing things through the eyes of women. But this isn't just some kind of thing that's happened once or twice, it is in so many of their songs. Yeah, for those counting, the 1975 have used the exact phrase "she said" 28 times in 21 songs. Lost Boys, Scary Monsters, The City, Antichrist, Woman, Undo, Sex, Milk, Chocolate, So Far It's Alright, Heart Out, Robbers, She Way Out, A Change of Heart, She's American, The Sound, Paris, Two Time, I Couldn't Be More in Love with You, Me and You Together song, and If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know. And best of all, those latter two there are from their upcoming album, or it was upcoming at the time I recorded this anyway, Notes on a Conditional Form, so that pattern shows no signs of slowing down. Number 9, mentioning wrestling, Action Bronson. Alright, so Action Bronson loves professional wrestling. Other rappers might love things like expensive cars or fancy jewelry or just saying over and over, but Action Bronson loves professional wrestling. So he doesn't fill his songs with what he's driving or what he's wearing or what he's at the time. He fills them with professional wrestling because Action Bronson loves professional wrestling. In his first 2 studio albums alone, Action Bronson managed to include references to 23 separate professional wrestlers, not including all the times he put wrestling moves in his lyrics, just the actual wrestlers themselves, 23. The Brooklyn Brawler, William Regal, the Mountie, Marty Jannetty, the Nasty Boys, Greg Valentine, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Bam Bam Bigelow, the Iron Sheik, Booker T, Paul Orndorff, the Big Boss Man, Vader, British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, Macho Man Randy Savage, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Barry Horowitz, Owen Hart, and Ron Simmons in the creatively titled track Ron Simmons. Now, since those first 2 records, he has got a lot more money, so he does now mention fast cars and expensive jewelry, but he still loves pro wrestling, and indeed his most recent release, 2018's White Bronco, had the line, "Me on my own is like the 4 horsemen, you're just a poor sportsman," so that ain't going away anytime soon. Basically, Action Bronson loves pro wrestling. Number 8, the WOAH Bridge, the Kaiser Chiefs. Yeah, the mid-2000s were a time for British culture and for British music. We had no idea what we were doing. Everybody had this false romanticism over the 90s. We'd just come out of rave and techno and all of this, and then Landy Infill changed everyone's lives. Yeah, you remember it, don't you? We all thought the Mighty Boosh was the absolute height of surrealist comedy, and all these giant nightclubs that did have Born Slippy on a few years ago were having to play indie music because that's just what everybody liked to listen to. At the very heart of all this were the Kaiser Chiefs. Thing is, though, indie music is inherently not very good for big nightclubs. It works in small bars, it works in like special one-off DJ sets and that, but for just big rooms where everybody's got to have their hands up in the air at 3 a.m, nah, that stuff just doesn't fly. The verses are too nuanced, they're not as catchy, the choruses aren't big enough to be sweaty and bouncy at that time of the morning. But the Kaiser Chiefs, they had a plan. Because they had chosen to fill every single one of their songs with a bridge that went, oh, 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 they became an essential part of every single DJ's catalogue. Because when you're wearing jeans that skinny, you need something that gets the heart going and raises your dopamine levels, because, well, these same nightclubs were just telling bouncers not to confiscate people's ecstasy a few years ago. What were they going to do now? So yeah, the Kaiser Chiefs became one of the biggest bands in the world purely because they had this whoa thing in all their songs, so they wrote loads of songs with a whoa thing in it. Now yes, they are more nuanced these days. They've changed their whoa bits for whoa bits, but basically just putting in random vowling exclamations instead of lyrics has been their thing for 15 years. Number 7, name-dropping cities he's been to. Pitbull. Now yes, in fairness, if you are going to publicly call yourself Mr. Worldwide, then you probably do have more overhanging baggage than any 747 you're ever going to step foot on. Is it enough for Pitbull to trust that we will just believe him that he has this lovely lifestyle and he travels around a lot and he goes to all these different cities and meets all these beautiful women? No, it is not. He must tell us about every single time he does that. Every single time. Case in point here, the man literally wrote the chorus, Brazil, Morocco, London to Ibiza, straight to LA, New York, Vegas to Africa, and while yes, we do all remember him for rhyming Kodak with Kodak that time, everybody seems to forget it was sandwiched apart from telling us he was in Times Square. On Feel This Moment, he was in Tokyo. In We Are One, it was Brazil. International Love stopped off in New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Romania, Lebanon, Greece, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, and Venezuela. I lack the vocabulary to adequately tell you just how important it is to Pitbull that you believe he travels a lot, but he does. Number 6, Bony Knees, Real Friends. Now yes, I'm aware I did say famous at the start of this video, so this might be pushing it slightly, but if you're a big fan of pop punk, then Real Friends definitely are famous to you, and if you're not, well, I'm not telling you how to live your life, but how about you throw on a pair of checkerboard Vans and get over yourself? Anyway, it was noticed by their fans that an extraordinary number of their songs contained references to either A, sleepy eyes, B, bony knees, or C, bony knees and sleepy eyes. So convinced this was a gimmick or a piece of self-parody, they set to work trying to decipher the code. And then when their 2018 release Composure came out, there was yet more references, so the band themselves were forced to address this. Kyle from the band posted a long and thoughtful explanation, but the cliff notes of it are that in 2011 he was going through a very bad breakup, which led to bouts of depression, which led to him being unable to sleep, which led to him losing a lot of weight, and he had physically bony knees and obviously quite sleepy eyes. So it's not some riddle to be solved or some mass conspiracy, just a personal story that reminds him of overcoming the difficulties in your life by physically getting off your bony knees and opening your sleepy eyes. Number 5, telling you they're from California, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. In the year of our Lord 2016, ahead of their 11th studio album, the Red Hot Chili Peppers shocked the world by releasing the single Dark Necessities, and within it was not a single mention, hint, nod or wink to the state of California. The entire music industry, and indeed their hardcore fans, did not know what to do with themselves. Why are you being so sarcastic, Adam? Why is that a big deal? Well, I will tell you, because if you go through the Red Hot Chili Peppers' entire back catalogue, you will find across 47 different songs, 119 separate references to the state of California. As important as it is to Pitbull for you to know he travels, it is twice as important that the Chili Peppers know that you know where they're from. Number 4, being late, Axl Rose. Google the words Axl Rose and late together and you will get 1,980,000 separate results. It's true. That is because during the height of Guns N' Roses' powers in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a genuine sense of excitement at every single one of their gigs. Will the band show up? What time will they be going on stage? Will there be a riot that puts loads of people in hospital and costs hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage to the city you're in? All three of those things happened on 3 consecutive tours, and every single one of them happened more than once. Without exception, though, the absolute nadir of all these stories comes at a stadium co-headline show with Metallica in 1991. One of the lads from Metallica, he burned himself by accident in a pyro thing, so they had to cut their set short and they went off stage. But not to worry, because other stadium rock legends, Guns N' Roses, were waiting in the wings. Except they weren't, because even by his standards of being notoriously late for every single gig they were doing, Axl Rose wasn't even at the venue when Metallica were pulled off stage, leaving fans stood around for over an hour waiting for them to come on. But it gets so much better, because midway through their set, Axl Rose decided he was having vocal issues and just walked off stage. This led to a mass brawl in the crowd, which spilled out of the arena into Montreal, leading to a mass riot, causing $400,000 worth of damage. You've got to applaud. Number 3, playing songs in E minor, Metallica. Alright, so something a bit more technical for you now, and 3 facts to start you off. Alright, so number 1, Metallica want to write these big, huge, crunchy metal riffs, okay? 2, it's easier to do that in the chord of E minor than it is to do it in any other chord. And 3, James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett are not by any stretch of the imagination the most accomplished guitarists in the industry. Now, that might seem like I'm having a bit of a pot shot at them, but no, because 1 + 2 = 3 equals some of the most legendary, famous, and iconic metal riffs in music history. Is it formulaic? Yes. Does it absolutely work for them? Also yes. Bit of additional science for you here. Before the invention of the 7-string electric guitar, E was like just the lowest, darkest, bottomy note you could get out of an electric guitar for ages, and Metallica had this distinctive sound in mind, so they built every single thing they did around this form of tuning. And when you're doing that, it is easy to play certain crunching, deep, dark, brooding riffs, and that's what gave them their sound. But Kirk Hammett in particular, they got particularly comfortable with doing this, because as well as doing all the songs in E minor, he wrote every single solo in E minor's pentatonic scale, and he got so comfortable in it that he didn't really change that since about 1992. In fact, on their most recent album, when he was literally improvising the solos on it, he played the exact same solo he'd written years before, because it's just what he knows. Number 2, look at me, I'm a high tenor, Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson was such an incredibly talented singer that entire swathes of the population insisted, without any proof whatsoever, that he must have been chemically castrated in order to be able to sing the way he did. He wasn't, of course, because they did an autopsy on him when he died and found that his knackers were still there. He was just one of the best falsetto singers of his entire generation. In fact, he was so good that when he wasn't actually singing in a song, when he had a moment to catch his breath, he would just chuck out something in his upper register to remind you that he could do it. I'm going to try my best here. Of course, you all know the hee hee that he would do, but there's also like a ow and a hey, and even the more exaggerated of his Simones. Now, these impressive exclamations became a signature of his music, the same way the moonwalk became a signature of his dancing, and from the 80s onwards, pretty much every single up-tempo Michael Jackson song would have these in them somewhere, because they became something of a creative crutch he would fall back on as he developed more and more personal issues. He just did them all the time, and they became so frequent that they've now been parodied to death. Hee hee ho, Shimon, etc. Number 1, reinventing the wheel, Kanye West. And lo, do we come full circle. After I opened this video by preaching the virtues of not trying to reinvent the wheel, of just doing what you do best, we come to a man who, well, what he does best is reinventing the wheel. Yes, Kanye West does do the same thing over and over and over. It's just that that thing he does is not doing the same thing over and over. The man's trademark is his reinvention. Consider the evidence, my friends. College Dropout was just radio-friendly, pure chipmunk soul, and then Late Registration was far more grandiose and bombastic, but still quintessentially a hip-hop album. And then, when we expected the third release to tie these two together, nope, Graduation was just synth-pop at its most pure. The guy sits down every time he gets in the studio and goes, right, what did I do last time? Because I ain't doing that. Virtually the only consistent in Kanye West's music is that it is never, ever, ever consistent. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't always work, because for every prog rap masterpiece like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, you get like a big gospel mess like Life of Pablo, but it's still his thing, and it is as dependable as any other thing on this list. So there you have it, my dear friends. Those are 10 musicians just do the same weird thing over and over and over. Anyway, let me know what you made of it all, as well as your shouts in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I have, of course, been Adam Cleary, and in case you're wondering, the weird thing I do over and over in music is... and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.